Hey everybody, this is Angela and you're listening to 5 Picks and a Chick featuring El Gato. This is the show that gives you 5 NFL picks for people who love football and friendly wagering. Today we are joined by our special guest, Big Zay. Thanks for being with us today, Big Zay.
Hey, I appreciate y'all guys bringing me back for another season. Really excited.
We
Welcome
are,
back. Jose.
yep, we're happy that
Appreciate
you're
it.
back. Well, El Gato, last week I went 5-0.
Awesome.
You went 4-1. My season record is 14-6. That's a 70% win percentage. You are at 13-7. That's 65% win percentage. Not too bad, hey?
Oh, we're doing fantastic, especially last week. You know, when you can stack up some wins the way you did, of course, going 5-0. I went 4-1. If you can stack up wins on the winning side, meaning, like 3-2, 4-1, 5-0, that goes well towards those winning percentages, and that's what we like to see. That's what we like to do here on the podcast is provide good, solid picks uh, for our listeners and see how it plays out. But last week was tremendous, both of us. There were some exciting games, some close games. Some were, blowout games, but hey, that's okay. We'll take those as well.
That's right. Well, my first pick is going to be the Bengals plus 2.5 versus the Ravens. This is another must-win game for the Bengals. The good thing is they do have their wide receiver T. Higgins back. Bengals are at home against their division rival in the Ravens. We have scored 30-plus points in the last 2 games. Looks like the Bengal offense might be starting to click again. Ravens should come back down to earth after the blowout win against the Bills. I think the Ravens probably used a lot of their juice last week. Bengals have to corral Henry. If they do, I think that they can cover. The Bengals are at home. They're desperate. Give me the home dog, Bengals plus 2.5. What are your thoughts on this game, Big Zay?
I'll tell you what, Angela, if I would really not want to touch this game I feel like can go either way. In my opinion, these division rivals, I think that this could also be a preview to the AFC Championship game. That's how much I'm on both these teams. And I know that's saying a lot with the Bengals being what their record is, but I wouldn't let their record fool you. Like you stated, they are clicking. They look good. They look good last game. T. Higgins coming back, and of course Jamar Chase doing his thing. If I was to decide on this game, I would go the other way with the Ravens at minus 2.5. The Bengals are a championship team, but in my opinion, the Ravens are a championship winning team. What they showed last week with that rushing attack, you finally get to see Lamar Jackson and what the Ravens offense can do when they have a superstar running back in the backfield helping them out. It's pretty awesome to see. Ultimately, I think this game is going to be very close, but I think it's going to come down to the rushing attack of Derrick Henry. If he can have somewhat of a game like he did last week, and the reason why I say somewhat of a game is because you're not always going to get your running back rushing for 199 yards for career 200 games. But yeah, I don't want to choose it, but if I had to choose in this game, I would take the Ravens at minus 2.5.
All right. What are your thoughts, El Gato?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's going to be a tough rivalry game, AFC North rivals division game. Bengals, as you alluded to and mentioned, Angela, they're 1-3, desperate for a victory, for at least to put another victory, on the winning column. They played really well against Carolina last week. In fact, the last 2 games offensively, they've done really well. But look at the other side. On the defensive side, they've also given up quite a few points. Ravens, that slow start, are now 2-2. Close game against the Chiefs early on, giving up a 10-point lead against the Raiders. I mean, they could easily be 3-1, even 4-0. I'm going to go with the Ravens at -2.5. The Bengals' interior defensive line struggled against the run against Carolina. They're going to have a tough task if the Ravens can play with that same intensity they did against the Bills with Henry. I know you said the Bengals are clicking with their 2 wide receivers back, but I think the Ravens are also clicking offensively. It's going to be a close game, but with it being less than a field goal, I'll take the Ravens at -2.5, but I do expect some offense on both sides and a close game at the end.
Well, my second pick is going to be Raiders +2.5 at Denver. Both teams have fared well as underdogs the last 2 weeks. I'm going to continue with the trend. I'm taking the underdog Raiders in an even division matchup. I'm hoping that the Raiders take the momentum or bring the momentum from last week's game into this one. I think the Raiders really need to pressure Bo Nix, have him struggle in the pocket. I am going with the Raiders +2.5. What are your thoughts on this game, Big Zay?
I'm gonna go with you, Angela. Both the Raiders and Broncos right now, they're dogs. They're both dogs. You know, they're playing. The Broncos are a little bit hot right now, but in the words of the famous Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, hungry dogs run faster. And the reason why I say hungry dogs is because when one guy wants out, especially like a superstar like Devontae Adams is, I feel like they're going to come out with an edge and they're going to come out hungry. And yeah, Antonio Pierce is going to get the boys ready, and I think they're going to come out and make a statement on the Broncos this weekend.
I hope you're right. What are your thoughts, El Gato?
Yeah, both teams, another division a rivalry game. They're both 2-2. Denver coming off a big road win last week, albeit because of a missed makeable field goal by the Jets field goal kicker. The Raiders with a big win over the Ravens earlier a couple of weeks ago at +2.5. Both teams are challenged offensively. I think it's going to be a defensive battle, especially with Denver's defense. I'm going to be more inclined not to pick the spread, but go with the over-under at 36.5. I'm going to go with under 36.5 and expect a defensive battle, a field position game, maybe either quarterback not wanting to, and either coach not wanting to make a big mistake on either side of the ball. Maybe looking at a 17-10 game, something like that, to keep it under that point spread. So it's going to be a tight game, close game, but I'll take the under on this one with both teams being challenged offensively. So I'll go with the under 36.5.
Do you have a third pick for us, Big Zay?
I do. This one might surprise some people, but I have my reasonings behind it. I got the Dolphins +1 against New England. First off, shout out to my father-in-law, CRS. Big time Dolphin fan over there. Big time Dolphin fan. There was all these, all the memes going around on Twitter about Tyler Huntley, about his performance this past Monday night. I truly feel like he gives the Dolphins the better chance to win while Tua is out. I think what people lose sight of, he's only been in Miami for a few weeks, less than a month. Give this guy a little bit of time. I truly feel like when he can use his legs are a big part of his game. So I feel like Mike McDaniel, when he's going to find a groove and kind of find a little system to kind of work with him, at least until Tua could come back, which I feel like Huntley needs to focus, and Mike McDaniel, they need to focus on the short intermediate game and get these little screen passes, get these little slants, get these little short passes to put the ball in the playmakers' hands. Tyreek Hill and Waddle, let them guys use their legs and use their speed. And man, I think that once they figure that out, I think everybody's going to be pretty happy with the way Huntley's playing. Patriots, they will never be a threat until they switch over to Drake May. Brissett, I know he's a veteran in the game. I know he's done well in certain moments, but he's not the guy there. So that offense struggles when he's quarterback.
What are your thoughts on this game, El Gato?
Well, both teams 1-3. Both teams having problems of scoring the football. Both teams, not playing very well here the last 2 or 3 games. Albeit the Patriots, did have an impressive win in Week 1 against the Bengals, and the Dolphins also had a win in Week 1, but haven't been the same since losing two a couple of weeks back. This game being a Patriots -1 home game for the Patriots. Dolphins, they didn't look right this past Monday night. It seemed like I don't know, they seemed like they even stopped playing or even wanting to win or even wanting to or even quit. They do have the offensive weapons to score. To Zay's points, they do have the wide receivers on both sides of the field. They have A-Chain at the running back spot, but in the NFL, if you don't have a quarterback, man, you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance to put up points, and you don't have a chance to perform. And the defenses can scheme around that and shut it down. Shut down either what you do, try to do best, either run or pass, and that's how the Dolphins are having their issues these last several weeks. I'm going to go with the home team here at -1.
Yeah, both teams are just plain bad teams right now, but from the bottom, there's only one way to go, right? Is up.
It's up.
Yeah, both teams lack offensive firepower. They average less than 17 points a game. But with the Dolphins, they have the star power, like you guys mentioned. They've got Hill and Waddle and what's the other guy's name? Mostert
A-Chain in the
and
backfield.
A-Chain. Yeah. And so I think they have a better chance of putting up some points. I think the Dolphins figure out a way to win. So I am going with the Dolphins getting a point.
All right.
You have a fourth pick for us, El Gato?
Yeah, I have a couple of picks. My first pick is going to be Green Bay against the Rams, and Green Bay with a 2-2 schedule. Excuse me, a 2-2 record. We got the Rams at 1-3. The Rams are having some, have their own problems. We're talking about the Dolphins and Patriots having offensive issues. Jordan Love coming back from an injury in his first game last week, back from Week 1, playing against a top-rated defense in the Vikings. Started off slow. For those who saw the game, the Vikings got up pretty quick, either 21-0, 28-0, I think, at one point, if I'm correct. But the Packers never stopped playing. They kept playing. They tried to stay in it. Came back for a little bit. Jordan Love, like I said, first game back, throws 4 TDs against that Vikings defense. And it's they've got to find a way to keep up with the Vikings in that division. So it's a must win. Who's going to be the more desperate team to win and try to keep up with their division rivals, their division foes? I think the Packers are going to be the more desperate team to get back on the winning side of the ledger. At Green Bay being -3, and with the Rams defense performing at not a very high level, bottom of the league, not having their top wide receivers to perform offensively. I'm talking about the Rams. I think the Packers can take this one pretty handily. I'm thinking -3, Green Bay.
What are your thoughts, Big Zay?
Yeah, Gato, I have to agree with you on that one. I absolutely love the passing game of Green Bay. No pun intended. But I feel like Love, it's great to see he can make it work with any receiver on that team. That receiving. I love the receiving group. Those guys make plays. You never know who's gonna make a play. Obviously, Reed's been having a consistent. He's the consistent number one. But they can make plays for Love when need. Of course, last game it was a passing situation the whole game because they were down and stuff. And I know you didn't mention Love had the picks, but man, he looked pretty good when he looked good. I'll be honest with you, he looked really good. But I think one of the things to watch out for on this game, the key for me for Green Bay is going to be. I feel like Josh Jacobs is going to have a big day. LA's defense could not stop DeAndre Swift last week. He rushed for 93 yards and had 5.8 yards per carry. I feel like Josh Jacobs is a little bit better than DeAndre Swift. So if the Rams defense comes out and plays the same way they did last week, I feel like they're in trouble.
All right. Well, you guys, I'm going to go with the Rams on this one. I get what y'all are saying, and I know it's kind of like, okay, Green Bay on paper is the team that we should be picking. But Rams have had a really brutal schedule with 3 out of their 4 games on the road. They've had one home game that was against the Niners. They won. They have played well somehow when given no chance against Detroit and the Niners. They won against the Niners. They covered against Detroit. I think they're going to put together a good performance against this Packer team who has actually, to me, been playing up and down. So I'm going to go with the Rams in this pick. You have a 5th pick for us, El Gato?
I do. The next pick, the next matchup is Vikings and the Jets, and I believe they're playing in London. Early start, 8:30 on Sunday. Is that right?
I'm
guys?
loving it. Yep.
Yep.
8:30
Yeah. So
our
yeah,
time.
it's gonna be an early start. It'll be coffee and football to start off a nice NFL Sunday. But the Vikings 4-0. They could be the surprise team right now in the NFL. I mean, who would have thought with their quarterback situation with the rookie from Michigan that got injured in preseason, probably was the projected starter, maybe. Now you got Darnell, who's been with several teams, really playing some good football. Vikings defense really shutting down some teams. I mean, they've played some excellent teams in the 49ers. They beat them. They covered. They played the Texans. They demolished them. They more than covered. And so they're running 4-0. They beat the Packers in a division game, which they've had issues beating here recently when Aaron Rodgers was with the Packers. So they've gotten over that hump. And they're playing the Jets team with Aaron Rodgers now with the Jets. Heartbreaking loss last week as Aaron Rodgers drove that team down the field and got them in position for a field goal. And Angela, you and I always say a field goal kicker has one job, and that is to make the damn field goal. That's his only job. You could tell Aaron was so pissed on the sideline. He put a towel over his head and was probably saying some words, talking to himself. But the Jets have an outstanding defense. It's going to be a tight game, I think, even though on paper Vikings have better athletes. Probably on the offensive side, maybe equal defensively, right? But I'm going to stay with the Vikings until someone knocks them out. That's kind of what I did with the Texans. I rode with them all year until they got smoked right against the Vikings, and then they got smoked by the Jags last week. Thank you very much, Texans. But anyways, I'm expecting an outstanding game in London. Two top defenses really going to battle for field position. Field goals, I think, will be at a premium. You can get a field goal if you're in field goal position, even on a 4th and short. I think you go for the field goal and take those points, put points on the board, and we'll see how it turns out. But I'm going to go with the Vikings at -2.5. Field goal touchdown game at most. So expecting a tight game, but Vikings ink out a win and a cover.
What are your thoughts, Big Zay?
Goal. Vikings all the way. I love this game. I love that the Vikings are the hottest team in the NFL right now. I love that Sam Darnold is gonna just completely tear up the Jets that drafted him. Sam Darnold, what a season he's having. I just got the Vikings. I think the Vikings are going to steamroll the Jets. The Vikings on the defensive side, Brian Flores is their defensive coordinator, and Brian Flores is going to blitz. The Jets, he's going to make Aaron Rodgers back there feel uncomfortable. And last week, he blitzed Green Bay 46 points. 64% of the snaps. So I think that Pat Jones from Minnesota is going to add to those 5 sacks that he currently has. And also on the other side of the ball, with on the other sideline, Aaron Rodgers and their coach, I think his name's Saleh, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
There's something going on. There's something going on there, and I think there's about to be turmoil in that locker room. These guys just fighting like high school teenagers. Like I got the Vikings big. I got the Vikings big on this game.
Yeah, it's gonna be a
Well,
tight game, I think.
it will, but I've been on the Vikings train the last 4 weeks, but I have a hunch their wins are going to end in this game.
Are you jumping off the hype train,
I
Angela?
am. I am. I know it's crazy, but I am. I know Jets offense did struggle last week, but it was bad weather. It was a mucky game. I know both teams have to suffer through the bad weather and the mucky game, but I think this trip across the pond is going to be good for Rodgers and the offense. They're going to get it going again. Jets are going to deliver the Vikings their first loss. Keep in mind, Jets are 1 play away from a 3-game win streak. Jets defense are going to put pressure on Darnold. They're going to create turnovers. So I am going with the Jets plus 2.5.
You bring up some good points as far as
Jets
putting
got a
pressure.
good secondary.
Those two defensive tackles for the Jets can really move that offensive line, get that push right in the middle. Could rattle Darnell. It's gonna be a chess match.
El Gato, you have any final thoughts?
Well, it's week 5, right? Week 5 of the NFL, and we got a couple of undefeated teams. I think maybe only 2, Chiefs and Vikings.
Chiefs and the Vikings.
But you got some other teams chasing these division leaders, and some good games lined up. Another great NFL weekend.
That's right. Any final thoughts, Big Zay?
It's just so much, just so much things that you would never thought would have happened. Antonio Pierce is over here liking Instagram posts about his receiver leaving. Antonio Pierce, get off social media, please. Coach, don't creating some drama there, bro. But now, in all reality, man, it's been awesome. Love football season. It's one of the greatest sports, if not the greatest sport. So yeah, but also thank you guys for bringing me on for another season. Bringing my crazy self back on. I love coming on here and giving my opinion on these games. And yeah, it's a great times every time I'm here.
But you know what, Big Zay? Hopefully the Eagles with their bye week, they kind of get things right again. If I'm not rooting for the Cowboys, you know me, I'm rooting for the Eagles because of someone that likes the Eagles as well. I sure hope they figure it out, but
I'm hoping they could turn it around. Let Kellen Moore I kind of feel like Nick Sirianni still has his hand on that offense, which I think he needs to get his hand out of there.
Yeah, let it
Give
go.
it to Kellen Moore. Let Kellen Moore use the weapons that the Eagles have. This bye week came at a great time. Let us get healthy. So I think we'll be okay. We'll see what's going on.
I hope so.
See.
I hope so. Well, if you've made it to this point in our podcast, we just want to thank you for listening. Be sure to tell your friends about us, your family too. Also hit the subscribe and like button on our YouTube channel at 5 Picks and a Chick. You can also find us wherever you get your favorite podcast. Thank you to Big Zay for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me. I love it. Love coming on here.
Make sure to join us next week. We're going to have Henry on as our guest picker next week. And as always, thank you to El Gato for being part of 5 Picks and a Chick. 1, 2, 3, bet.
All right. It's a wrap.
Sweet.